Thank
Oh
you.
my God.
That's very nice. Thank you, my darling robot. So I called this meeting just to let you know what's going on. Damien probably knows, but the town of Amenia did not receive the consolidated funding grant, which we had applied for in late February. Aaron is, normally the process is that there's a grant cycle, grants are given out, and if you don't get one, you have an opportunity, you're encouraged to contact the DEC / Environmental Facilities Corporation to find out how your application fell short. And it's a little more complicated apparently this time because there is no break between the granting of the first cycle and the second cycle. The second cycle of grant opportunities is already opened. It opened in May, earlier in May 7th, I think. So Aaron is reaching out to the person from whom we received the notification to see if she can find out what went wrong. She was responsible for the submission of 3 grants. One of the 3 went through, the one for Copake, but the other 2 in Dutchess did not. I think the other one was also in Dutchess. So once we get the go-ahead from the town board and from Victoria, we are going to resubmit a new application, a new and improved application. Aaron is going to do it for no extra money.
Yeah. So
she's going to do it for free.
We can find out why it didn't go through and correct
Yeah,
it.
that's the goal.
I have a little bit of news on that if you like, Jim.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the letter we got from EFC stated that we, the town, or specifically Victoria, would be receiving a letter that included the results of their review. And that would indicate to us why the proposal was not selected for funding. This same email from, actually, yeah, I think she sent this to you as well, Jim. The same email from EFC did encourage us to reapply.
Right.
Immediately, and that deadline for this next round is July 30th.
Right.
As far as Victoria is aware, she has not yet received the letter, however, so.
Yeah, I just spoke to her before that we gathered here, and yeah, confirmed that she had not received the letter. I did hear from Aaron yesterday that she has left several messages for this Rebecca Lanahan to try to, so that she can know what to improve as soon as possible. The only other news that I have from Victoria is that it appears that the number of certificates of occupancy at Silo Ridge, that first threshold has been reached. And unfortunately, rather than just say, okay, whatever, say there were 30 C of Os, that's not the right number, but whatever the threshold was, and that releases X amount of dollars. Well, it doesn't work that way, of course. It works. The amount of money that will be released by Silo Ridge to the town of Amenia depends on a number of things, including the number of units and the number of bedrooms in each unit, and probably lots of other details.
I don't think it's lots of other things, Jim. I think it's just number of bedrooms. And I think that information was something that I expect the building inspector could put together fairly quickly. I guess my question to Damien is why the town board can't get a bridge loan from your reserve fund to cover this relatively small amount of money when we know Silo Ridge is due to pay us $50,000. I mean, I just think it's incredibly foolish of the town board to have something that we have to apply for in July. Maybe we would get it in September. Meanwhile, the federal money that is available for infrastructure, in fact, even the money we are just allotted from Dutchess County from the federal government will pay for wastewater. And if we're gonna lose capital, the possibility of actually getting capital funds from the federal government because the town board is unable to act. Can you kind of explain what that's about? Because I'm mystified.
Yeah, so as far as federal funds for wastewater, I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to specifically on that, but
I'm referring to the infrastructure bill.
right, which has not yet passed yet, right?
Oh,
Right, which is why I'd like us to have a
Leo's actually
shovel-ready
referring to
project.
the first go round, whatever the
The American Rescue Plan, right?
And
Yeah.
in the town of Amenia, based on Schumer's email, was scheduled to receive like $480,000.
$480,000. That's correct.
Right.
Yeah, that money is given to the state of New York and then dispersed at some point in the next, I think, 6 months or something.
Yeah, it takes a while to get that money. That's what I asked Victoria about that as soon as I got the Schumer email.
But my question is, since we know we're getting that money and we know the town is getting 50,000 from Silo Ridge, why aren't we able to borrow money from the reserve fund to be replaced when either of those comes in?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, the simple answer is that we don't have consensus on the town board to do that. I think the money from Silo, there's a big thread going on with Dave Everett over exactly what the definition of, because it does involve mostly bedrooms and C of Os, but then there's also something about the number of condos and the ratio of condos.
Oh, for God's sakes.
I know, tell me about
And
it.
is Dave working for us or for Silo?
Dave is on our payroll, so.
Okay, well.
I
But anyway.
I just not to be, I mean,
consensus.
to be as dispassionate about the question as possible. I think it's very simply that there isn't consensus to do that, and I think that not everybody on the town board is convinced that Silo money is just right around the corner, based on expected haggling that would have to go on. And again, referring to this thread with Everett, it's a little more complicated than just how many CFOs that they've got.
So what individuals, in terms of consensus, what individuals should I be talking to then? Because I know Jim Morris quite a while ago said that he thought that was the way to go. And I'm pretty sure Vicky is sort of understanding of the need for this. So who should I be talking to in terms of who's holding out?
Well, I think it depends on, what other costs we have or see coming down the pike. I think ostensibly these funds are expected to be used in service of affordable housing, per the terms of the agreement with Silo. So
you're talking about the Silo money? Because Victoria showed me the agreement and I thought it was for affordable housing, and she insisted that the way it was written was for wastewater or affordable housing.
Okay, that would be news to me. We've always been told it was specific to affordable housing because they needed to build a certain amount of affordable housing to get their density bonus, right? That's where.
Yeah, somehow when the agreement was made, it was written, I think, at Victoria's direction to also be available for wastewater.
That's great.
So it seemed to me Dave Everett could answer that question pretty quickly, right? Or I could ask Victoria again if you want me to.
Yeah, but I mean, I think fundamentally, I think that we've made a case to the town board that we would like, we the committee would like the funds to be used for this, but at that point, the town board then needs to weigh and deliberate that decision over all of the other competing requests and ideas or whatever it is that.
Well, has there been any deliberation over the money from Silo? in terms of what that's going to be used for? Because I find it hard to believe there's a lot of competition for that money at this moment that relates to housing or wastewater.
No, I mean, I don't, there hasn't been a ton of deliberation that I've been a participant of. So no, I can't say that there has, but there definitely has been a lot of talk about when is it going to come. And, you know, we have been tracking their progress and obviously involving people who can help us understand when they are due to pay it. So I really just think it's as simple as, like, you know, we can make that appeal for those funds. And then we need the board to just agree,
Right.
consensus, you know.
Would it be
Okay.
helpful to get on? You know, the next meeting is a week from this Thursday, I think, right? Is that right?
Oh, yeah, that's correct.
So, I mean, would it be helpful to, you know, ask to get on the agenda and to make a case again? You know, basically restate the case we made in January?
Yeah, I mean, that could be helpful. We may also have clarity from the silo funds by that point, but you know, I will say that Victoria and Aaron have gone back and forth about the reapplication for the grant. And I'm just pulling up my email here to make sure that I'm quoting this accurately. Okay. So, as you mentioned, Jim, Erin has graciously offered to resubmit this at no cost. I guess that assumes that she's not going to be making a ton of changes to the application, but maybe that will change once we get feedback from EFC. Victoria's guidance to her was that if it were going to cost another $1,000 to pay her to do the reapplication, that we'd have to discuss that as a board before she could proceed. And that's when she said that there would be no cost. So it sounds to me like there is support for Erin resubmitting. As far as I'm aware, we have not taken a vote to have her do that. And I'm not sure if we need to do that if we're not spending money. That to me is not clear. So I guess my guidance, Jim, would be the absolute #1 priority would be to make sure that on the next town board meeting, if a vote is needed to authorize Erin to proceed with this application, this grant application, that we take that vote.
Damian, let me go back to where I began, which is I don't understand why the town is unable to take money out of the reserve fund, knowing that they're getting money within the next few months from Silo Ridge for expressly this purpose. I mean, time is going by. I tried to make that point in January or February, January, I guess. And we're now 6 months later. We don't have anything on paper, not an updated plan, and nothing in terms of a real cost estimate or development of the work, which means that when the government releases infrastructure money, assuming that happens, we're not going to have anything on paper that we can use to make our case to the federal government to use that money. And I don't understand why there's no sense of urgency from the board and why we're not able to take that simple step to release that money and get Erin started.
Yeah, so there's a couple, you asked a couple of questions there. I think the basic answer, Leo, is that we as a committee can make recommendations to the board, and we're not privy to all the sort of competing budgetary, other things that they may have in front of them. And so that's the simple answer. I mean, we can make recommendations to the board.
So, I mean, Leo, my position would be, let us reformulate our appeal from January. It can be much stronger because we've now spoken to way more stakeholders than we had in that January meeting. Stacy especially has gotten all sorts of very strong feedback in support of this effort. And I think that we, the most important thing is to try to light a fire under the board when they're all together and appeal very clearly that the vote that Damien just suggested in terms of the resubmission of the grant application, that and the overall need to get moving, given the situation that we're in. Like, I mean, I think we just have to try again. And and if the board doesn't act, then then we'll go to the next step, whatever that is.
Well, there is a primary, so if they're not showing any action in terms of improving the town, I think it doesn't bode well for the Republicans
right.
that are running.
You're 100% right, because that is front and center in a lot of discussions that's going on with Amenia Strong.
So, look, I think if I could give any advice, the concept, Leo, of borrowing from funds yet to be received is not. It's not something we can actually do.
I don't think that's true, and I get the sense that it's your position, not the board in general's position, about not taking this money, which you can easily transfer if you know it's getting repaid.
Leo, let me finish. The concept of saying we are going to spend the funds specifically from this source, this origin that we have not yet received, that we cannot do. But we do have a contingency fund. And I think that's where you're going with this concept of a bridge loan or something. But the postcards for the housing committee, for example, were paid out of contingency. The $1,000 to Erin that we gave her to write up the grant application, none of those things were in last year's budget. They were paid out of contingency. And Victoria, as the budget officer of the town, she is tasked with managing that contingency fund. So what you're saying makes total rational sense. We are expecting to receive this money in at some future date. So why don't we just spend it now and we'll float it until we get it later? But, just that's not how that process of spending money works at the town level. We can't spend it unless we have it. We do have money in contingency, but how that contingency money is spent is based on how much is actually in there, how much is left in the year, and other things that the town board feels we need to be prepared to pay in the event of emergency. So.
Okay.
Can you say, Damien, in even ballpark, how much money is in the contingency fund at this point?
Yeah, I think I can look that up for you.
That would be awesome.
It's going to take me a bit to go through this balance.
Well, why don't you just, you can just email me and I'll add it to the minutes, rather than keep us all here.
I mean, if you're talking about $1 million, that's, enough to draw out $10,000 from.
I don't. Yeah. Is that normally what's in the contingency fund? $1 million?
No way. No.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I think the last time we asked Victoria on TV how much was left in there, she said it was like 30 grand.
Okay.
We do have a bank account that has $1 million in it, but that's for payroll and to pay down our debt, and that's not contingency, right? That's a separate fund that we can't touch for
right
unanticipated.
I have one question, sort of a personal frustration question. I seem to recall that town rules say that if committee members haven't attended a certain number of meetings, that they are, invited to either step up or step down. Is that correct?
That is correct. The town board can remove committee members after, I think, 3 consecutive absences.
That's what I thought too. That's what I
believe that's. They're not automatically removed. They have to be explicitly removed
by the town board.
Right.
Well, it has to be requested by the chair, presumably.
It
can
seems,
be
Where the town
requested.
wouldn't know that.
pardon?
Yeah, it can be requested. It doesn't have to be requested by the chair, but it can be, certainly.
Well, I think I mean, this seems to me the first step would be just to contact Brad and Nathan and just say, it's fine if you don't have the time, but, just let's be frank with each other and let me know. Because it's not a huge waste of my time, but it is frustrating. And
It's disrespectful.
there you go.
And there's a
On
lot
that
of
note-
work to be done.
On that note, do we have anything else to discuss?
Not me.
Okay. So Amy, I will look forward to if you can figure that out. If not, just let me know and I'll ask Victoria.
Yeah, I was actually just going to write Victoria an email to copy you to ask her, but I did want to just relay a great conversation I had with John Stephanopoulos. I know you guys have spoken to him a number of times, but rarely have I encountered anyone in the business community here in Amenia who is that like drop dead enthusiastic of
Yay.
the work that this committee is doing, right? And I think that he can be a huge advocate. I think part of the reason that we are seeing so many of the candidates that are running, for town board this time around advocating for this is because there is a lot of support for this on the business community side of things. I would be really interested to know how you guys have been coming along in your outreach to private residents, like just general people who live in the area, not the multifamily, but the folks who would be, because those are the people who would be the majority of the voters when it came to some referendum, and we would really need to get that sort of broad community support to move something forward. It would be my guess.
Damien, you're talking about people who live in what would be the wastewater district, even though that would
Yeah.
primarily be commercial at this point.
We have gotten the contact information for pretty much everybody, every private residence from Willows to Saravan, from Fudgies to Freshtown, which was our directive. So as soon as it becomes clearer what the initial sewer district would be, we are ready to contact these people. Until that, we don't want to, reach out until we have more information,
Yeah, that makes sense. I just, it personally, when I am receiving comment from the public, it's hard to find somebody who is anti-wastewater unless they are, a private residence, single family within the zone, and they went through it last time, and they're like, I'm fine with my current setup. I don't want to incur any more, any more costs. So I just, I see that as those people can be pretty vocal, as I'm sure you guys know. It would be great to have a strong voice like John's to help counter some of that, as he's a respected member of the business community and seen as relatively politically impartial. So the other thing I wanted to flag for you guys is some of the troubles the wastewater district is going through, not the wastewater, the regular old water district is going through. You guys are familiar. I mean, there's nobody here who lives in the water district, is there? Chris Stacy, you're not in the water, no? So the current water district is owned by the town of Amenia. It's operated by a contractor who we contract out to. And, I think we went almost a decade with no rate increases as far as the metered rate of how much water you use. And then last year, the town board voted to increase the rate for the water district. And I'm no expert on this, but my understanding is that the water district, like any other special district, needs to raise its own revenue to the point where it is self-sustaining. Does anybody know more about this than me, or? No?
I mean, that sounds right. I know that I got an earful I dropped off the dogs at the groomer today, and on the way out, she went on about how her water bill had gone from $35 the previous quarter to $85 this quarter. So it sounds like there was a huge gap. I'm not sure why that wasn't uncovered sooner, but I think you're right, Damien. I mean, I think that the rates are supposed to be enough to pay for what's going on. I don't know, again, why it would happen suddenly as opposed to gradually.
Yeah, agreed. We ran an analysis. It's a bit of a complicated way that we bill. So there's like a base fee that people pay, regardless of how much usage you have, and then of course it splits for commercial and residential. But it's like the first 5,000 gallons are free after you pay your base fee, and then you pay usage at a certain rate in tiers above that base. Anyways, it's a little complicated. I'm not in the water district, I don't pay it, but the general gist of what we did last year was that no one had wanted to raise rates, or there had been no sort of cry for more revenue from the water district for whatever the reason. It had not become an issue until last year. And last year, we really started to have major capital funding challenges with the water district. There's two wells in a pump house. Leo, what's the name of that weird, scrubby, marshy lake area? The crotch?
The crotch, exactly.
The crotch. Yes.
No, it's the gut. The gut.
The gut.
Good guess, though.
Okay, not the crotch, so we don't get
Not
our water.
the crotch. Although, I mean, you can call it whatever you want. I don't think that that's a fixed term, the gut. But anyway.
So we have two wells that are in a pump house down there, right next to the lake, actually, and they're in miserable shape. The pump house needs to be rebuilt. We're talking about $250,000 or more. The water pressure in the system is all over the place. The tower is ancient. The pipes are all different sizes throughout the system. Here's the fun fact. None of our fire hydrants are firefighting rated. They're decorative, I guess, or they're for dogs.
Interesting.
I don't know. But we just don't have the pressure in the system that, so, if the Amenia or the Amenia Fire Company has to go out and respond to a call, they have to take a pump truck, regardless of whether there's a fire hydrant proximate to the fire or not. So the point that I'm trying to get to here is that we have one utility district already that residents are up in arms about a rate increase, even though there had not been one for almost a decade prior. And even with that rate increase, we at the town board are still seeing a major gap between the revenues that are brought in by the water district and the capital needs that we foresee. I mean, we're having John Andrews, the town engineer, do an assessment with the water operator, the contractor, to identify basically a capital funding plan, like a 5-year plan for how much we're going to have to spend. But I tell this story for two reasons. One is a sentiment story, just from in the battle we're going to have to do if we're in the public sentiment sphere to get any wastewater done. But I also say, just so that you guys are aware, that there's a major capital investment looming to the town above and beyond any new engagement that we do on wastewater. So I just wanted you guys to be aware of that. And if
go ahead, Damien. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. That's all.
No, just is the consultant not responsible for letting us know about letting the town board know about the condition of the system? It sounds like the system has been failing pretty grandly over a long period of time. It seems weird that the consultant hasn't said anything, or maybe he hasn't, just no one has.
You mean the contractor or the?
The contractor who's responsible for servicing
That's
the wastewater.
Marco, isn't it?
It is Marco.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the first things we did when we started this process was talk to him. This is right after he resigned his position on the board, on the committee. we asked him for a map of the water district, and there were all these indicators in just this map that like this is failing and that's failing and this is, it was like, and then we asked him, he sort of dodged the question. So that's anecdotal. The thing that the way I got the most information, albeit it was very poorly reported, was from the Millerton News about a month ago about the John Andrews presentation to the town board. And
Yeah.
that I found wildly confusing because he did indeed come up with a figure that was almost, I don't know, almost $500,000 or maybe 300,000 to rebuild the pump house. But then the article ended and said he's sort of recommending not doing any of that. So I would love to know where we are with that.
Yeah, so that is a good recollection, and you're not in any fault of your own personal capacity if you struggle to understand some details in a Millerton News article, because sometimes
That's something I think we should all join and ask sweetly that Caitlin Lyle resign, because I mean that article.
I have no comment on that. But I will say that I'm poking through my email right now, but Marco and his partner came before the town board, I want to say in 2018. And they, it was on the town board's request because we were seeing sort of maintenance and repair bills kind of skyrocket. And he came in and actually it's on TV, it's recorded in a town board meeting, but he gave a really awesome presentation, like soup to nuts. Like, here's where we pump, here's where we well the water, here's where the pumps are, here's where the storage is up on Depot Hill. Here's the loop, here's where the dead ends are, here's where the hydrants are, and he kind of flagged a bunch of big ticket items that we needed to track from a capital funding standpoint over the next couple of years. That I thought, I thought that report was really well done, and he went into great detail there. I will try to find that link to you guys. Water district report. No, I'll find it eventually. Anyways, if you ever wanted to know any details about the water district and sort of what the big ticket items are for repair there, that's a great place to start.
Great. Okay.
I think your point is well taken, that given the spotty performance of this one utility, the argument to introduce a second one is going to be tougher, especially to the people who already are getting their water.
I mean, people take stuff for granted all the time, right? Like I do, sure. But the good news is that the quality of the water that we deliver here in Amenia to folks in that district is excellent, and there are rarely any like massive outages there. You can go back and look at our contamination sample reports over history. For what it's worth, the town and its operator have done a really good job with the water district over the life of the water district.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah, that said, people don't really care about that. They just see that their bill went up, and that's fair. There have been some things that we could have handled better on the billing side of things. Like, we changed billing software last year, and there were some glitches, and I think someone in town got a $10,000 bill, which is hilariously wrong, right? Like, that's obviously a mistake, but that's an easy story to go tell your friends at the pub. Anyways, for as good a service as it's delivering, I'm just saying that we are being told that there's large capital expenses on the horizon that we need to address for that service that's already kind of up and running.
I would just say, to add to that, that that my sense is that the water district and the sewer district are not going to be the same district. I mean, that the sewer district is intended to first serve the businesses downtown. And so it is important, I think, Damien, you're right, to see how many residential customers would be included in that, just because they're within what's primarily a commercial district. But I think in terms of people being disappointed with the with whatever issues they have with the water district, that it's not going to be the same people and it's not going to be primarily residential. So hopefully that'll make a difference when the time comes.
Yep.
We'll see. But like I said, we are prepared to contact the residents within the envisioned district as soon as we have something to tell them. We're not just going to go out and say, hey, interested, you know, and we're not doing that. So, but we are poised with all sorts of contact information, thanks to me. Anything else? All righty. Thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for the update, Jim.
Thanks for coming and getting me.
Anytime there's an update. All right. Take care.
Take care. Thank
You
you.
all have a lovely
Thank
evening.
you.